This is WZRD Chicago 88.3 FM. And we have with us at WZRD Alderman David Moore of the 17th Ward. How are you today, Alderman?
I'm doing well, and forgive me for my positioning, but thank you for allowing me to interview with you. I'm here at the hospital and visiting one of my constituents and just keeping them in prayer. So please forgive me if you hear some background noise.
Okay. Well, first of all, Alderman Moore, um, there have been a lot of controversy about crime and ShotSpotter. Uh, would you like to tell us what's happening about all that?
Yeah, so at the end of the day, the administration made a campaign promise to get rid of ShotSpotter without having anything in place. Unfortunately, I don't believe they did their due diligence to understand that you had to use that money for public safety technology. And so they ended it based on a campaign promise instead of a promise of helping the people who really need it. And since then, we've had some unfortunate situations that ShotSpotter could have detected and helped people, including Officer Enrique Hernandez, because he was responding to shots fired, and then that camera would have gone into what we call the SDSC room so that the police could see what type of danger he was possibly going into and could have been more prepared for it. So these type of incidents that do not get captured on data are things that ShotSpotter can help. And so unfortunately, they turned it off, but yet it's still pinging in certain areas, but it's not connected to the police department.
There was talk about the business community donating about how much money? About $50 million?
No, the business community wanted to put up $2 million
Okay.
towards it, and it's a 10 million, about the $8 to $10 million annual contract. So the business community was showing that they wanted to invest in this as well until the mayor gets something in place, rather than just end it completely. Have something in place before you get rid of it totally.
Right, during the interim period, so they at least do
Absolutely.
something.
Right, because there was a tool that the police superintendent wanted. It was a tool that the police superintendent could have used to continue to help us keep safe. It's not the be all to end all of crime, but it was a tool of many tools that we need, especially when we have a police shortage.
Mhm. While you were camped out at in Englewood those weeks in June, was there a shot spotter around your area too? And was it detecting all those shots fired?
Oh, absolutely. ShotSpotter was active very much so then. And as you know, when I was out there, some shots went off even while I was out there. And so police responded in a timely fashion because of ShotSpotter. And so, at the end of the day, it's a tool that I believe that we need unless you got something to replace it. But don't get rid of it unless you have something to replace it. And unfortunately, that has already happened, and we're paying some of the price for it.
Mhm. What other things could we do to prevent the crime, to address the root of the crime? What solutions are you working toward? Is there anything that the city is doing as well?
Absolutely. I mean, I know the administration and this mayor wants to address the root causes, but part of those root causes is developing in our communities, building up our communities. And that's why you hear me talk about a brand new Ogden Park field house for our kids in Inglewood. So we're not turning those kids away. We're turning kids away because we don't have enough space at some of our field houses, and then redeveloping places like 69th and 69th Street between Ashland and Damon, West Inglewood, who hasn't had any investment in over 23 years.
And what does the 17th ward cover? What are the neighborhoods?
The neighborhoods are Inglewood, West Chatham, Auburn Gresham, and Chicago Lawn. Of the 17 wards goes from about 67th on the north to 87th on the south, Lafayette by the Dan Ryan, all the way to Central Park past Kedzie.
Is the entire Englewood enclosed within the 17th ward?
No, the Inglewood has about 5 aldermen. The entire Inglewood area covers about 5 aldermen, and my Inglewood area covers approximately 67th to 74th from Halsted over to Damon, actually over to Hamilton.
Mhm. And we hear about a lot of ingrained racial discrimination that prevents the development from happening. How is that also that racial discrimination continuing in your ward, and how could that be alleviated?
Well, I think part of that comes from whether you want to call it racial discrimination or whether you want to call it making sure that we prop up people in our community to build. We cannot force people like Jules, Mariano's, and others to come into our community. They don't have to come. So we have to create wage, which I do agree with the mayor in terms of having public grocery stores, but yet showing up people so that they can operate them. The city is not going to be in a position where they get into the grocery store business, but they can prop one up. It was also part of Paul Vallis's campaign strategy, but I'm glad the mayor is talking about it and making sure that we have a public grocery store, but yet prop up people so that they can get the skill set so they can begin to operate our own grocery stores, and we don't have to beg the Aldis to stay there or the Dominics or the Jewels to come there. We can create our own grocery stores.
Is is the city and you, are they able to ensure that the people that are going to be working in the public grocery store are people from the community?
Well, absolutely. I think if the mayor gets this off the ground, that's something I would definitely support. And it'll be definitely a situation where the people are from the communities that's working and operating in those stores so that they can learn to run grocery stores.
Uh, I heard about the Chicago Prize, I think, and it's from the Pritzker Trobert Foundation.
Absolutely.
Yes. Is there anything are there any organizations in your area who are competing for the prize and have any projects in mind?
Well, I'm hoping some of them we will see, but one of our recipients was from Auburn Gresham when they did it under the Lori Lightfoot administration, and that was the GAGDC, the Greater Auburn Gresham Development Corporation. And with that money, we were able to leverage our TIF dollars that we put into it, along with the money from the Trobert Foundation to build the Healthy Hub site at 839 West 79th Street, which was also the catalyst for Invest Southwest, where we're doing of like 58 units of new development in Auburn Gresham on 79th and Halsted and on 79th and Peoria, as well as a brand new sit-down restaurant, also a not-for-profit center called Clio, Keep Loving Each Other, for our youth, a Play It Again store, and a smaller grocery store, an African-owned grocery store with African cuisine and other, popular American meals as well. So I'm looking forward to that developing, finishing up.
Okay. So it's still being built right now. And when is the prospective date of completion?
Well, we were looking hopefully around the end of November to do a ribbon cutting, but we may not make it until if the weather holds up, we can probably get to a ribbon cutting in December. But if the weather don't hold up, we may have to wait to spring, but we'll see.
Mm-hmm. Well, that sounds very promising. Are there any other developments that happened there so that we could gauge how development has changed the community?
Absolutely. So State Senator Jackie Collins, before she stepped down to run for Congress, got I think close to $21 million from Metro. So you got a brand new Metro station that's coming at 79th and Halsted. Also, we worked with sit-down restaurant. It was a smaller restaurant called Jerk Villa, which has got some what we call neighborhood opportunity fund money. I can't wait till it's almost complete. They're doing some licensing. You won't even realize that you're on 79th Street. They did such a marvelous job both on the inside and outside. You feel like you're downtown, and so that's what our community is supposed to feel like. It's all supposed to feel like you're different from downtown. They put the quality in, and people are just so excited about it, and I'm excited about it.
What about the residents? Are they concerned that are they able to afford these restaurants, do you think?
Oh yeah, absolutely. So I mean, you have one called the Supper Club now that's on 55th in Indiana. That's going to be by the same developer that's doing the restaurant here, and both of them and people are already going to Jerk Villa. Now they're just going to be able to have. They can afford the food. Now they're just going to have a place to be able to sit down, and also some live entertainment instead of just going downtown or out of their neighborhoods for those type of entertainments.
Right. What about the businesses that are coming in, like Jerk Villa? Have they promised that they'll try to keep the money inside the neighborhood?
Well, the Jerk Villa has been doing that. Not only hiring people from the community, but they give back to our community. And I encourage all businesses in the 17th Ward to give back to our community, whether that's through scholarship or whether that's through helping our students at our local schools with different events or helping our block clubs. And so we can develop a stronger community.
Have they been able to follow through? Have they given back?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
Um, what about the banks? How are the banks in the 17th Ward treating your constituents?
Well, on 70, on six in our Inglewood area, our West Inglewood area, we have a Chase Bank and we have a Bank of America on 69th and Ashland. Both been there for many years, and they've been very supportive of the community, and the community is supporting them. So again, I hope those banks continue to stay around. But we have other banks in the Auburn Gresham area, like Fidelity Bank, who does a great job with our community, giving back, giving to our seniors, making sure that people can afford those mortgages. I'm a big advocate of Fidelity Bank and a big supporter of Fidelity Bank. It's not in my ward, but it's in my community. And so our community supports that bank.
Well, as long as it's close enough, right? Then
No,
your
absolutely. Absolutely.
your constituents are able to use that bank. So it's almost like your bank, your
Absolutely.
your ward's bank. What about
And we have Fifth Third in my ward as well. So Fifth Third Bank is another bank headed out. That manager Herb that manages that facility does a great job of doing outreach in our community, not from a financial, but even from a health standpoint in terms of making sure that we're attending events that keep us both financially healthy, wealthy, but also physically wealthy. So they're involved in different programs and events as such. So I'm happy about all of these banks in the 17th Ward.
do they help the residents learn about the financial literacy?
Absolutely, absolutely. Anytime we partner with them, not only just the residents, but we take it to our schools and everything in conjunction with the city treasurer, Melissa Kanya Irvins, who does a good job, probably better than anyone that I've known, has been a good job of doing that. And so we continue to partner and do those good things to make sure that our children are learning at a young age about financial literacy.
And have you been able to gauge the children? Are they happy with what they're learning? Is the knowledge sinking in?
I believe it is, especially when you think about schools, students at Scott Joplin, who we work closely with. I think they are doing a fantastic job, and they take it and they receive that type of information and education very well.
Well, sometimes it seems as if the younger they are, and when they learn it, the more it stays with them.
Yeah, because they can stay, they take it in like a sponge, and then they like to put it really into real practice. Where sometimes adults, we'll learn it, we'll say we learn it, but we don't go take it and put it into real practice. Youth, they go put it into real practice, real life practice.
Yeah, because it's like learning a language. The younger they learn, the easier it is for them to grasp it and even speak without an accent.
Absolutely, absolutely.
What about the schools? How are the schools in the 17th ward? What would you want to do to improve the schools?
Well, I'm a big fan of making sure that we invest in neighborhood schools. I'm also I support schools that you know where kids can go be more creative. We got a school like that in our ward called CYDI, Community Youth Development Institute. It's considered an alternative school, but what they teach and the way they teach it is different from a traditional school. They have sewing machines in there where they teaching kids how to start their own business and sell their clothes. They have gaming where they teaching kids how to not only play games, but also make and create their own games, something that's big out there now. And so these young people are becoming entrepreneurs. And so when we have schools like that, both making sure that we fully fund neighborhood schools, but also have a element of whether you want to call it selective enrollment or school that fits your needs for learning, such as CYDI. I think we have to have those type of choices.
So the so CYDI is like a selective school. They have to
Now
like.
it's not a selective enrollment like a Whitney Young or a Kenwood, but it's a alternative school, but it's not your traditional alternative school where people feel forced that they have to go there because they couldn't make it in the public school. You have more and more children choosing to go there because of the learning environment and the way they learn differently from what they do in traditional public schools. They do more hands-on learning, and that way everybody's not about sitting down flipping a book and all of that. They do hands-on learning, whether it's music, whether they're in a studio creating music, and while they're creating that music, they're learning math, they're learning English, they're learning science. They got a maker's lab where they're learning to build things. And then while they're in that maker's lab, they have to learn fractions and all of that. And it's not the traditional way I'm learning fractions where it's saying 1 divided by 2. They're learning it in a very untraditional way, but a comfortable way that suits their learning ability. And I love it so much.
Right. It sounds like a little bit like shop class, but it involves so much more
There
different
you go.
different
Absolutely.
opportunities.
Absolutely. You hit the nail on the head.
What about the parents? I assume that they really want their children to attend that school. Is there enough room for is there a wait list for the school?
No, there's not a wait list, but they've been growing each year as more people find out about it. So they have support. Even unions come there because of what they learn from a trade standpoint. Unions come there to recruit students from that school.
And the grades are from what to what?
It's high school.
Oh,
Yeah, I think they go up to probably because some kids probably dropped out. I think they go up to like 21 or 22, something like that.
mm, nice. How has the outcome of the presidential election, do you think, affected your ward, if at all?
You know what? I tell people all politics is local. And so I think what in terms of this election, what we have to see is that what I've been preaching all along is Democrats cannot ignore the Black community. That's what it boils down to. Bottom line, if I tell people if we take care the least of us. If you take care of the African American communities, everybody else will benefit. And when you get the benefit of that, the Democratic Party would then get the benefit of winning more elections. But here's a group of people that have been so loyal to the Democratic Party that they've been ignored, and they don't like being ignored anymore. And that's why you had so many young Black men going to Trump, or so many people staying home, because I just told you about 69th Street between Ashland and Damon, how can you have no development for 23 years in the community? And so that's a problem. And so people are just frustrated, and sometimes they'll cut their nose to spite their face, but they're not going to keep having the same person step on them when they keep supporting that same person. So hopefully the Democrats learn from this and put money into our communities and invest in our people.
So no development between Ashland and Damon. Who would be responsible? Who could bring development into that area?
I mean, every level of government have that. I mean, our Congress people have to work with Washington to get more development funding, infrastructure money. They've been good at doing, but they have to get more money. When I say infrastructure, I'm talking about road infrastructure. But they have to get more money where we're doing building and developing in our community. The state of Illinois has to put in more money and have a focus on development, because when you're developing, you're putting these young men and women in the communities in these trades. You're giving them jobs while they're there and building up their trade skills where they can go into the trades. We shouldn't be in a situation where we're still, as Black people, begging to get in some of the union trades, and that's a problem. That's a problem. And so those are the things that people see, and that's what gets you a Trump for a second term.
What about those congressmen, and what about the state? You need a certain amount of money in order to start the development. What money have they brought in already? Nothing, or just like how much of a fraction, if only partial?
Well, I got to give to Congressman Davis, as we're trying to do this new field house. He's committed to $2 million, and we're going to be getting $2 million from that to do the Ogden Park field houses, but close to a $35-40 million project. So getting that money from him would be helpful, but still there's much more money needed, and there's more money to be kicked in. And so I hope the mayor uses his bully pulpit to make sure that we get those fundings from the federal government and from the state government.
Well, that money is not coming as much as needed to the 17th ward. Do you see that same kind of money going to other wards more easily?
I think there's some instances where some congressmen push more for their communities in other areas. I've seen that, and more of those electeds get more money from their congressional leaders based, and some of their state leaders. Some of our state leaders try to find favor with people, and they pump money into things that they shouldn't pump money into instead of pumping it into developing. And I think we have to pump money into development. Social programs are important, and I support social programs. I come from a social programs background. That was my life in terms of how I was raised. But I think if you got to teach a person how to fish, you just can't keep giving. You give them a hand up, but you don't keep giving them to help them become dependent upon you.
What you mean is that the too much money is being spent in the entitlement programs rather than in
versus
programs
development.
Right.
Development, absolutely. Versus development.
But then are other parts of the city, are they getting more development funds than here?
I mean, I think from some of their congressional leadership, I believe so. And we just got to make sure our congressional leadership and our districts are fighting for some of those funds to get to us. And we have to hold everybody accountable.
And that has been a long time too, right? Decades, because it hasn't just started now. It's been a long time.
No, when I talk about 23 years, I haven't been in office for 23 years. So with 23 years of disinvestment, that's a problem. That was way before me. And we got to light the fire under some folks.
How do you start?
By holding them accountable. I bring them to my meetings. I make them face the constituents and say, hey, what have you brought to this community? It pushes them to bring something to the community. If you don't bring anything, then you won't be reelected.
Do they accept the invitations to meet your constituents?
Oh, absolutely. They have to.
Awesome. What about the homelessness problem and veterans' needs? How are those issues affecting the 17th ward?
Well, from a positive standpoint, because we have about two veteran homes in the 17th Ward area, and well, two and a half, really three. And then I'm a big advocate for veterans. We host the Southside Memorial Day Parade, where we're constantly bringing resources to our veterans, and so our veterans are taken care of in our ward. I can say that in the 17th Ward, you know.
And what about the homelessness problem? It's affecting the whole city, but what about
Yeah,
the
it's beginning to impact, and I'm seeing some, elements in the 17th Ward. I've called DFSS out. They've been very responsive under the leadership of Brandy Kanazi, and some people want to go on the shelter. Some people don't, but it's not as bad as some other wards. Not even close. But we're addressing it. We try to nip it in the bud and try to get people housing as they need it. We have a Department of Family and Supportive Services facility in the 17th Ward, right at 79th and Racine. And so, they're active. I'm active over there. So we're trying to minimize that as much as possible.
Is that the part of that program at 311 where they get this reference number?
Well, they either go there. They don't have to call 311. They can call 311, but if they can't, they can go directly to the Department of Family and Supportive Services.
And that's part of Chicago, city of Chicago, right?
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. So I think it's getting a little noisy where I'm at. So we may have to start wrapping up if you don't mind. And
No,
I gotta get back to my constituent
okay.
who I came up here to see. And but I think we covered some good ground and some good work. And I appreciate you so much for this opportunity and for this interview.
We appreciate you too, Alderman David Moore. If our listeners want to learn more about you, where should they go?
Or they can go to our website at www.citizensformore.com or alderman@17ward.com. They can call our office at 773-783-3672. Get on our newsletter by calling our office so we can get your email. My constituents, make sure we have your phone number so you can get our robocalls. And so we're at 1344 West 79th Street at the corner of 79th and 8. I have constituent night every Monday night from 5 to 7. Anybody can come and see me one-on-one without an appointment except for holidays. I always tell people to call at least about 4 o'clock just in case an emergency come up. But 99% of the time I'm there.
Okay. Thank you so much, Alderman David Moore. Continue the good work. Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate you.